am Mike Stonewall, and joined as well as God. From here, I get a sweep of the whole right without a step. Without a small room of light in the mirror.
Hola.
Hello.
Still in
Oh,
Mexico.
I am still
This will be
not
the
in
last.
Mexico.
This will be the last time I am
Oh.
in Mexico. Well, maybe for the foreseeable future. So the
Okay.
next time we will be resuming recording from Canada and the US.
And we will get potentially church bells now because doors are going to be open, and I miss all that. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you get like the
Seagulls.
flavor of the week of like the homeless people screaming, yelling. That's
Yep.
cool too.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm friends with quite a few of them actually because I walk so much downtown. Some of them are really nice. Some of them are really nice.
I mean, look.
I used to bring one of them cookies, but I don't know where he went. But one of them I used to bring him cookies all the time because he was really nice.
That that's
There's
a New
only
York
like
thing,
two
too.
that are weird.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, that's a big New York thing too. I remember when I first started going to college, like in Boston, in the city. That was like my first real, I came from a small town. So like that was my first real encounter with real homelessness, and it was very jarring for me when I was a kid. It was very jarring. Like I was in college at 17. I don't know. It really affected me. I really, thought about like every morning, like kind of stepping over somebody to like get where I was going.
Yeah.
It was really just like, yeah, I remember. And I remember giving my lunch away several times because, like in college, I'd bring a lunch. And then if my friends were going to eat somewhere, I would go with them. And then if I didn't eat my lunch, I would just usually give it to somebody,
Yeah.
But it was
Same.
very.
Or like when I go to the restaurant and have leftovers, I'm not a big like restaurant leftover, but I do take it and give it.
Yeah.
And they're usually pretty happy. But I actually I have a cool story my mom told me a couple days ago about homeless people.
Yeah.
She was at one of our favorite restaurants in Montreal. If you're ever in Montreal, go to Restaurant L'Avenue. It's delicious. And yeah, and she went there and she called me immediately after and she said, I just had the those moments where they make you think about what kind of person you are and how you behave in life and whatnot. And she was sitting there, she was having her salad that we both love. It's called salad Luo.
Wow, she even knows what to order there.
Oh, yeah, it's so good. Anyway, we would go there like religiously every Friday. This was a long time ago. I was like 16, 17. But anyway, so she's sitting down and this man comes in and he looks homeless. Okay, this is her telling me this story. And she's like, he sits down, and the waiter walks by, and you could tell the waiter's like, oh, fuck, like here we go, kind of thing. And he looks at my mom, and he gives my mom a look too, like rolls his eyes. And my mom didn't do anything. And then she's sitting beside him, and the man is like, can I have a coffee, please? To the waiter. And he's like, yeah, just coffee. Do you want food? And he's like, no, I'm okay, just coffee. And then he turns to my mom and he's like, he looks at her and because I don't know, they exchange looks and he's like, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to stare, but you're just very beautiful. And then my mom was like, oh, well, thank you. She's like, I actually looked like shit that day. I just came back from work. Anyway, she was like going off on a rant. And then she started talking to the man and she's like, can I buy you food? Can I buy you something? And he was like, no, I'm okay. I just came here for coffee. And then the waiter came back, rolled his eyes at my mom again. And he said, would you be able to pay for your coffee up front, please? And then he was like, yeah, no problem. And the waiter went away. And when he came back, he dropped a 20 on the table and had left. And said bye to my mom, and he was very polite, but he had felt the
Mm.
judgment of the
Mhm.
waiter. And this restaurant, the whole staff is in the back, and you can kind of see them working and cooking, like the chefs and all that. And they were all kind of making this face of like rolling their eyes and all that. So he just left the 20 on the table, didn't even drink the coffee, and left.
Wow.
Like, and my mom just sat there and she looked at the waiter and she went,
Yeah.
like, you treated him like shit because he looked like a homeless man. And he didn't want your coffee, but he still gave you 20 bucks and a really fucking good tip on that point, right? But it was just like a really, we're so quick to judge, and I hear it constantly. Like I hear this, they're homeless because they choose to be, or and in Victoria, I don't know if it's the same where you're from. They can go and sleep for free in housing. It's available to them.
Mhm.
Most of them choose not to
Mhm.
because they want to get drugs at night,
Yeah.
right? And you can't have drugs in the housing facilities.
Right.
So they choose to sleep on the streets in order to get their drugs.
Mhm.
And I hear that all the time, and that kind of judgment. Like they don't need to be on the street. They like, okay, well, are you dealing with a heroin addiction? Like you don't understand,
And
right?
I mean, that's a great story, first of all. I mean, I hope that
If it
waiter learned a
did, that's
lesson
always
in
what
terms
you
of,
have to like tell yourself, right? If it
yeah,
was your child, what would you do?
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and in order to do that, you need to slow down. You need to
Mhm.
slow down, right? Because your initial reaction is not always the most, it's very often autopilot. It's not a true reaction. But I hope that waiter learned a lesson, a valuable lesson, because that is a valuable lesson in how to treat
Mhm.
people. I understand if it's like the same person all the time and you know that they're coming in to do X, Y, and Z, because that does happen too. So I get it, right? I
Correct.
get that side of it. But obviously, this is not the case if this guy was able to drop a 20 and just walk out the door. So I don't know. I love that story. But also, you're not dealing with, just like any other class of people, homeless or otherwise, you're not dealing with like a monolithic thing. Not all homeless people choose to be homeless. Not all, so stop again judging vast swaths of people
You
with the same.
can't.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. And I
Um,
I worked in serving so like many years. I was a server and I was a bartender, and you really can't judge anybody by
right.
what they look like, how they dressed, or anything, because the people who you think are going to tip you like crazy because they look like they have money don't.
Yeah,
Oftentimes.
I've heard stories
Sometimes
like
they don't
that.
sometimes they don't tip you at all, right? And it's not
Yeah.
always, of course, right? It goes both sides. Sometimes they tip great, but you never know. And it's about what that person shows you with their actions,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
As opposed to just like being like, yeah, this person's gonna do this, right? That's It says more about you, even if you kind of know and you choose not to judge, and that person proves that they walk away on their bill or whatever. That says everything about them and
Yeah.
not about you.
Yep.
You gave them that chance, and now you know, but you didn't skip 10 steps and go ahead and judge them, because then that would say a lot more about you.
Well, don't we talk about this a lot on the personal side of it too? It's like if
Yeah.
you allow yourself to be damaged by others, then you're
Mm.
setting yourself up for a life that's dictated by how others treated you rather than the life that you deserve. And now we're getting
Right.
like now we're really trading into interesting territory. But I mean, that's all part of health as well. It's like that's a
Victim mentality. This happened to me, so therefore I have the right to be this way to everybody else.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's your choice. And you have to make that decision to allow you. I always say, look, you got to allow yourself, you got to be vulnerable enough to be hurt, because then at least you're doing the right thing over and over again. And you will never be
Mhm.
sorry for doing the right thing. But if you close yourself off to everything because you've been hurt in the past or you're scared about something, you're going to miss out on an opportunity, guaranteed.
Mhm.
Guaranteed. It's just the
Yeah.
way the world works. So,
Anyway, anecdote brought to you by my mother. Thank you, Mama.
thanks, Mom. Okay. So, I want to show you something based on what we talked about last week with Texas and a Senate bill. This is super interesting. This also came my way just maybe 24 hours ago. So I haven't even read this, so we're going to read it live together. And then I want to get your opinion on this. So, what are you whispering to me, Daryl? I didn't hear you.
You'll catch it in the replay.
Great. So this is from Straight Arrow News. Never even heard of them. American Heart Association.
Unbiased. No. It says unbiased first, doesn't it? Unbiased, straight facts.
No, but and then over in the left, it's SAN, Straight Arrow News. And then I guess their tagline, TM, is
Great
unbiased.
facts.
Great facts. Yeah.
Let's see.
I'll be the judge. So the American Heart Association opposes Texas.
So we just talked about not judging. Yeah.
Yeah, but okay, let's hold on.
You.
But we have to hold on, but we do have to use the judgment part of our brains is the thing that has kept us alive over the centuries. Yeah, you just have to be able to control it. Daryl and I aren't great at controlling it, but so this is interesting, right? We just talked about Texas and they were passing some good bills. Well, check this out. This is a bill. I'm not even familiar with this bill exactly, so we're going to read, but the headline is American Heart Association opposes Texas SNAP's sugary food drink regulations. So let's read this together and see. Well, I guess the headlines are the American Heart Association opposes a Texas bill that would restrict using SNAP benefits to purchase sugary drinks and processed snacks. Critics question if corporate funding influences the AHA's policy, American Heart Association. The AHA, their opposition has sparked criticism over its history of receiving funding from major food companies like PepsiCo and Coca-Cola, raising concerns about conflicts of interest. An AHA spokesperson said that their position on the Texas legislation was miscommunicated. They say the organization has long favored the USDA using its authority to increase consumption of healthy foods and decrease the consumption of sugary drinks. Except there's actually video of this public hearing, which you can see. I didn't download the video.
And except there's no coupons for Whole Foods.
Correct. And
or meat or whatever. Yeah.
Right. And they know that the processed foods are ultra cheap artificially anyway because of government subsidies. So it's just a whole big mess.
Yeah.
The debate over food stamps is heating up in Texas. The American Heart Association opposed a bill restricting the use of Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program benefits for sugary drinks and processed snacks. This stance has raised eyebrows with some questioning whether corporate, okay, we already read that. Texas Senate bill, they just keep repeating it over and over again. Texas Senate Bill 379 sparks controversy on Tuesday, March 11th. So this was just about a week ago. The Texas Senate Committee on Health and Human Services held a public hearing on Senate Bill 379. The proposed legislation prevents SNAP recipients from using their benefits to buy certain junk food items. During the hearing, lawmakers and public health advocates voiced their opinions. State Senator Louise Kohlhorst, she was the one who put that other bill, what was the number on that one? 25, that was instituting the one we talked about last week with the physical education and education on metabolic function. That's the same state senator. And I don't know if it's she or a he, Luis?
Oh yeah, Kohlhorst. Yeah.
Expressed shock over AHA's opposition to the hearing. I often say that I can never be surprised in this building, but for the American Heart Association to be against this bill, that might be the surprise of the session so far, said Kohlhorst. Some argued that limiting sugary food purchases could help fight obesity and diet-related diseases. One of the bill's supporters, 19-year-old Grace Price, good for you, Grace, identified herself as a science-based investigative journalist. I love this. Price spoke in favor of the restrictions, pointing to studies linking high sugar consumption to chronic health conditions. America has an obesity problem, and products like soda and candy are making it worse, Price said. American Heart Association opposes the bill. Many were surprised when Alex Puente, the AHA's government relations director, spoke against the bill. Puente testified that the AHA was concerned about the bill's potential impact on SNAP participation. He also emphasized the importance of educating the public about healthy eating instead of restricting purchases. Oh right, of course.
Here we go. Food shaming, food police.
Boy.
Yeah, don't restrict. Yeah.
I was thinking of that food police chick. Yeah, that's exactly right. For a bill like this, we would need to be careful that it does not impact overall participation in the SNAP program. Yeah, because people are going to just be outraged if they can't buy soda. And you know what? They'll learn to accept it, my friend. They'll learn to.
Then they might be not happy that they don't get coupons and they don't get Coca-Cola anymore. Actually, they probably will be because it's incredibly addicting.
Yeah,
So yes, they probably will be.
but if
But
they're all, but
it's
if they're
just like one of those things. It's like, if you have a kid and you take their candy away, they're going to be upset for a little while, and
Mhm.
eventually they will forget about them, and it's for their own good. So we
Yeah.
have to do something that's for their own good. That's what it is.
And Daryl, if they're on this program because they're struggling financially, and you're going to say you can't buy this, but you can buy this, guess what? They're going to buy the other food then. Like
Oh,
they're in
then
this
how about we shift the coupons to something else instead? We're not saying take it away. I would want nothing more than to help provide and help these people have access to coupons if they need for healthy food, not Coca-Cola. That's what I'm getting
exactly.
at.
Yep.
Not
Oh, no,
that I understand that people like obviously have different needs and stuff like that. And that's a whole other rabbit hole in itself, and why we've gotten to this point and why
mhm.
the um heart association is so against this, right? Is it
Mhm.
that? Yes.
Yep. The
Yeah.
American Heart
Right.
Association. Yeah.
Yeah, because it makes money. That's just what
Mhm.
makes money. So
Mhm. Yeah. And what they're saying is by removing this, they are going to have access to other foods. And I think that's the
that's
big,
good.
yeah. And the big problem is real whole foods, companies they can't have patents on them. They can't, that you can't patent red meat or broccoli or any of that stuff. So this
Mhm.
is really what it comes down to. This guy is so full of shit. It's not even funny. And it's such a thinly veiled excuse. Well, these people, we can't stop poor people from having Coca-Cola. Yes, actually we can. You're actually doing them a favor. If they want to buy it
Mhm.
on their own, that's fine, but government assistance should not be used for that, because you're creating
Yeah.
like a feedback loop, right? These people then get sick, then they end up reliant on the system to treat their conditions.
Let's
It
give them
is
let's give them a bag of apples
right.
instead, you know?
Yeah. So, this is really great. I think, it just shows like the total BS of the American Heart Association. The fact that they would even bother to send somebody to oppose this tells you everything. Like, just stay out of it, because it just looks so bad for the American Heart Association to be involved. And then they go into like, the AHA has long been scrutinized for its corporate partnerships. In 1997, the Chicago Tribune reported that the AHA has raised millions from companies like National Cattlemen's Beef Association. Yeah, we know, but let's face it, there is a meat lobby, but it is nothing compared to the processed food lobby.
Mhm.
ConAgra, Kellogg. In 2012, Kellogg and the AHA introduced a heart healthy label on select cereals. Yeah, because cereal is super heart healthy. Fiber Plus, all brand. Yeah, it's all just garbage. They even talk about the heart check. I've done a lot of writing about this, which is pretty cool. The whole heart check healthy label, which is full of shit. They put it on soup cans that have like a ton of unopposed sodium, which is, everybody knows I don't oppose salt, but unopposed sodium in processed foods is not a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's just like these people have been called to the carpet. They don't really have much in the way of an argument other than, well, we just don't want to stop people from participating in the program. And as I said, if there is a need there for these people to participate in the program, they will participate in the program. As Daryl said, it's all about the money.
Money, 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 money. We really um
I know. Daryl wants
we need
buttons. She keeps doing this every
yeah,
episode. She's like, I need buttons.
yeah, we need China. And money, 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 money. We need both of those.
All right, are you gonna start keeping a list? Because I think I could make this happen. Actually, there's a couple. I did actually, Daryl. I actually did spend like 15 minutes when you first mentioned this a few weeks ago. I spent about 15 minutes researching what kind of gear we could buy to make that happen. And for a couple $100, it's doable. We can have like a board that actually
That'd
has
be
all these
funny.
sound effects on it.
I
So
bet you our avid listeners know which ones we've said so far.
probably, but I know those two for sure. I know the money one is definitely one you want, and I know you want the China one big time. I feel like you should just correct me every time, and that would be just as funny. Jay, it's China.
China. I don't know why that's so funny.
Yeah.
Does like that's just how he says it, right? He's not purposely just saying it like that,
I
or what?
don't know. I don't know.
Oh,
I don't
it's
know.
funny.
It is funny.
He's funny. I just he's so fucking funny.
let me give you one more while we're on
Did
this
you see
topic.
when he got hit in the face with the microphone?
I
The face he
did.
did. Oh
I
man,
did. He was like,
I died laughing. He reminded me of that. I'm not gonna get this, but it's this little man kid that is used on all sorts of memes that like looks
"Oh,
angry.
I know
You know what I'm
exactly
talking
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep, yep.
Who is that kid?
Yeah,
He's is It's like a
yeah.
little like Russian or German kid or something. I
Yeah,
don't
I know.
know.
I can see his look in my mind. I know exactly what you're talking about. That little meme. Um, that's pretty good.
What's his name?
Oh, he's got a name? Probably, I'm sure he's got a name. I
Oh my
guess.
god, he is used everywhere. He's like the I
Sometimes they're just those.
oh, I got it.
You got it?
And then in the corner it's Hezbollah. Hezbollah? Is that his name?
I don't know.
Let me see. I need to
You're gonna
find.
try
Yes, I got it. I got it. I got it.
Can
I got it.
can you
Can
share
I share
screen?
screen? Yeah. Just a second. Sorry,
Daryl,
guys.
Daryl's gonna
Not-
try to. I mean, just for the audience that knows what we're talking about here.
This kid.
That's exactly who I was thinking of.
And they always put the best memes or like the best parts of him. Like,
Yeah.
and a lot of it is usually him making faces like that where he goes,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Trump made that face at
Wow. I
when
don't
he
know
got hit.
how old
I
that
don't
kid
know.
is. He looks.
Well,
But he
he's much
looks.
older now. I don't
Yeah.
know how, but
But he's-
yeah, I don't know if he. I'm not sure what's the deal with that kid.
I feel like
But
he
he's
always
a-
looked like a man.
He's a G. He's a boss for sure. He doesn't fuck around.
Yeah.
Probably future
right.
Trump.
Could be.
Could
Could be electing him president someday.
I have no idea who he is. Please, nobody take offense to that. No idea.
He might not
Who
even
he
be alive anymore. I don't know. Who knows?
I think he's
Okay.
alive. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway, all right.
And okay. How about this one? Food safety news. Here's another state. West Virginia becomes the
Oh,
first.
look at
state-
those beautiful colors.
I know. They're so good for you too, Daryl. They
Yeah.
always say eat the rainbow. They never specified which rainbow though. So there you go.
Mm.
West Virginia becomes the first state to pass sweeping ban on artificial food dyes. This was just 8 days ago. Well, at the time we're recording this, West Virginia lawmakers have made history by passing a groundbreaking bill that bans a slate of artificial food dyes and preservatives, positioning the state as a trailblazer in the fight for safer food. House Bill 2354, approved by the state Senate on March 5th with a 31-2 vote. Who are the two people who are like, no, I want artificial food dyes and preservatives in my kids' food? They got to be Democrats. Anyway,
The same people who say, don't restrict, you're going to
Yeah,
cause food disorder or
Yep.
food, whatever. You know what
but I mean, doesn't that just show you like what a minority this group of morons are? Like you're trying, and this, I
Mm.
guess, this is why you're never going to get consensus on anything in this world. So take this as a lesson. And I guess, that's enough of this. Like it was a 31-2 vote approved by the Senate, and it cleared the House of Delegates 93-5. So again, you've got like a handful of nutcases who just insist on, when in the world, if you're trying to get like consensus, that's one thing. But if you're waiting, like sometimes we fall into this trap where we're like, oh, I mean, everyone's got to see this way, right? It's never going to happen. It is, if you are waiting for the television to tell you something, like the news to tell you the truth, that's not going to happen. And if you're waiting for 100% of people to agree, I mean, today, Daryl, like, I don't know what it was about today specifically, because it was a beautiful day in New York. It was like 60 degrees and sunny. It was like a really nice spring day. And I saw more masks outdoors than I have in a long time. And I just kept looking and I'm like, so are you ever going to take that off? Like, it's a gorgeous day. And I saw a guy in the supermarket today with a mask and those blue latex gloves. I'm like, holy shit. Like that guy's life is over. It is over for him. So you got to stop hoping that you're going to reach that those two voters out of the, whatever, the 5 out of the 90, 98 there's always going to be those people. You got to just truck forward. Unfortunately, I was thinking about this. I was like,
Yeah.
we just got to leave some people behind. Some people are not going to be on the Make America Healthy, Make Canada Healthy. They're never going to be on that train, and you have to be willing to let them go, because if we're ever going to create progress, it's going to have to come from the majority of us who understand what progress actually looks like.
But guess what? That's still taking care of them.
Oh, of course it is.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
whether they agree with it or not. And let's, God forbid, knock on wood, hope that it doesn't go the opposite route where we
Right.
get forgotten, because then everybody's health and their
Well,
best interest is just gone. Also, just to point out, so that one movement with red dye number 3, did that like propel other movements
mhm.
in the health department? So it wasn't just red dye number 3, because there was one big loudmouth person talking about how red dye number 3, big deal. Like, that's what you're doing with the Maha movement.
Yeah.
Fine. Okay. Just wait.
Yeah, you didn't hear,
Wait.
Daryl? Right after they got rid of red dye number 3, they actually just shut down Maha. They were like, America is now officially healthy. That's
it.
what they did.
We came, we conquered, we did our job. Yeah. Yeah.
It's so stupid. It's not even.
We're gonna
you know,
leave yellow there, but we got
Yeah.
red. Yeah.
Holy shit. Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy. I don't understand people sometimes. But I mean, yeah, I guess it's just like, you're right. You're going to have to drag them kicking and screaming. And in the end, their life is going to be better as well. And so that's really all you can.
Just like toddlers.
Yeah. But I mean,
And
in
they're
some
having
ways,
a fit there. You're like, okay, come on.
Yeah.
Everything's gonna be fine.
I mean, in some ways, they have the mentality of toddlers. Like I said, we talk a lot about, Daryl and I talk a lot offline about some of these, the takes that people have, that they must have a take on like a world event. And it's usually so simplistic and void of nuance and facts that you really do wonder if this couldn't have been presented better in the kindergarten classroom. Like you might have done better with toddlers in understanding a complex problem if you just gave them a few facts, like, hey, what makes more sense, this or this? And like, I bet a toddler could figure it out better than some of the takes that I hear about geopolitics or wars happening in the world. It's really like remarkable. I remember, this thing's totally off topic, but I remember when I was on Frank's show one night and we were watching this was like this was before the election, certainly, and might have even been before Trump declared he was going to run. And he was being interviewed on CNN, and the reporter actually asked the question to him. I'll never forget this, because I had the exact same answer at Trump at the exact same time. The woman said, who do you want to win the war between Russia and Ukraine? And she actually said it exactly like that. Who do you want to win the war? like this isn't a board game. We're not playing Candyland or checkers. What do you mean? Who do you want to win the war? And he actually said, like, the best answer, which is the only answer: I just want people to stop dying. And that is the most adult. He was the only adult in the room, and the media is like, oh, he didn't say he wants Ukraine to win. Like, oh my God, you guys don't get it, do you?
Yeah.
It's remarkable, just the childlike mentality of people in this world. He just wants people to stop dying. Once upon a time, that was considered virtuous. Not anymore, apparently. We just want the good guys to win,
Because
bad guys to
no
lose.
matter what he says, it's not good enough. Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it was remarkable. But okay, now let's shift back to this, because I did want to ask you about this, and we're clearly not going to get to some of the other things. But we have a lot of great stuff for the next few weeks. We have some papers we want to get into. We got some cool stuff on like aspartame. We got some stuff on. We even have a cool paper on the vaccines for children, and that's something that I want to dig into. I also want to talk, I know we didn't get to talk about this. It really bothered me that one of the gentlemen, and this is very timely, they withdrew the nomination of Dr. Weldon for the CDC, and that really bothered me. That's a loss for the Trump administration and for Kennedy's HHS. That's a big loss. He's an excellent doctor. He was an excellent advocate for truth, and it was because he was outspoken about vaccines in the past, really wanted to rigorously test them. He would have been such an ally at the CDC. And he literally 10 hours before his confirmation hearing, remember when we watched those, Daryl, the RFK confirmation hearing, and 10 hours before that hearing, they pulled his nomination. So that's a huge loss for the Make America, Make the World Healthy Again movement, because they don't want anybody who wants transparency. And I want to dig into that maybe next week or something, because there's some underground. Are you
we
out?
can dig, We can dig into it next week, but do we know why they pulled it?
He released a very long letter that we won't be able to read. It's very long, but it's very detailed. I can send it to you. We can read it and maybe just like, like bullet point it, but he thinks he knows why. And it's very interesting. So, so as of now, we don't have a new nominee for CDC director. And I was very disappointed in that, very disappointed. He was I was looking forward to him being in that position. I thought he was perfectly positioned to like put some of these debates to rest. But that's the thing. They don't want to put the debate to rest about vaccines or a lot of other things, because they know that if you actually have a fair, measured point of view on something, you're going to learn things that you don't want to know. Now, we want to know because all we care about is truth. I'll say it again, if the entire American childhood vaccine
isn't
schedule,
that RFK's mission?
It is. And I
Okay.
think, and he even mentions RFK in the letter, and RFK was upset about it too, but they just didn't have the votes to get him confirmed, because you have to have a certain amount of votes. And
Right.
yeah, it's just, and I have some questions about some people in RFK's circle that I've made slightly public on Frank's show that I do want to talk about here, but I just don't have enough, any more information, but I'm trying to get more information. I've reached out to a few people. So that's on the burner for the next couple of weeks, because I think that's going to be a big topic of conversation. But to sort
It's
of
like there's a position that opened up.
I am not qualified to be the CDC director.
Oh, okay.
But PR spokesperson for HHS, give me a call. So yeah, and that guy resigned, and that's part of my other curiosity. I'm seeing some curious resignations and things happening, and I'm just wondering about some people in RFK's orbit.
Very peculiar.
Yeah. Just you have to remember, Robert F. Kennedy comes from the opposite political side. You have to understand where RFK is right now. He's in uncharted waters. His family is literally royalty in this country from the Democrat or the liberal side of the aisle. That was in the 60s when liberal was actually like a thing. And it was, there's some debate about all that, the Democrat Party throughout history, but certainly in the time of John F. Kennedy, it was a very different animal. It's nothing like that anymore. And he's realized that, and he's moved over to the side that he feels like is more in line with his core beliefs and mission. But what comes along with him are a whole bunch of people who don't believe that, who still believe the Democrat Party that they are in is the Democrat Party from 1960, and it's not. And so I have concerns about who he trusts, because let's face it, we all trust people in our orbit, and it's a very convoluted situation. So I have some questions, and I just want to dig into them a little bit more. But I guess, I don't know, maybe we could close this out with just, I've been really happy to hear about some of the things, Daryl, you're doing on your own too. And on this theme of like, I guess these last 2 weeks have been about individual states in this country taking control of things, really trying to do things better for kids, right? Like taking food dyes out of food, improving school lunch programs, education in nutrition, in physical education. And I know that you had mentioned that you just had something coming up in the next couple of weeks, something similar to that in Canada. And I don't know if you just like, if you wanted to briefly mention it, because I just think I think what you do with children and your focus that has become a focus on kids, I think is so noble, because if we get to kids early enough, at least plant the seed, maybe we can prevent things, and we don't have to deal with a lot of things that I am dealing with, like on the back end, and people who are like searching for weight loss drugs because they've given up on themselves because they're 65, 70 years old and they don't know what to do anymore because they never learned the proper way. So I don't know. I just wanted to hear a little bit about, if you have any information about what you're going to be educating a class of young ladies, as I understand it.
Yeah, it's just a one-off. I usually hold a 6-week curriculum with that hockey academy. It's actually not a hockey academy anymore. It's like a all sports, because there's not that women can't play hockey, but there's female athletes and male athletes, youth, and a lot of gymnastic girlies, and some play
that's cool.
hockey, some play other sports. So just kind of like an academy where youth go to excel in all aspects with sports. And they didn't have a nutrition component, so that's usually what I do every year. But this year their schedule was so busy that we took a pause for this year, so resuming next year. But I got approached via email from a principal of a local school asking me to go give a talk at a local high school for the volleyball team
Mhm.
because these young women are living off energy drinks and not eating. So we're going to reframe that a little bit, especially that they're athletes, not
Yeah.
not like in all aspects, but like especially that they're athletes.
Yeah.
You got to fuel yourself. So
Mhm.
yeah, so that's happening when I come back from Mexico. It's just a one-off, just a one talk kind of thing.
For now. I mean,
For now,
those
yeah,
things have
they
a way.
usually trickle. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think if I
yeah,
remember correctly, that hockey academy that's now in, just like an athletic academy, that started off as a kind of a one-off thing too, if I remember correctly. And I remember years ago
yeah,
we were talking about that, and I think again, I think as an athlete yourself, I think the girls are going to really, hopefully, they're going to,
resonate.
yeah, and I just think it's going to
I
lead
hope
to good
so.
things. And this is what we do. This is why we do this. It is so amazing to hear in the comments from you guys on Substack and hear from Frank's audience how much just little things that we say impact you, and that you many times run off and do things and like neither of us
Yeah,
even know that you're doing them. You're just like, I'm going to go do that thing that they talked about, or buy that, or do this, and experience results. And that's really profound to us. And so to be able to educate in this manner, in just sort of like a general manner, is powerful. But I love what Daryl does with, especially focusing on the youth, because let's face it, they just need all the help they can get, because they're surrounded by now, especially social media, with all kinds of bizarre pieces of advice and strange things. And, I'm sure the questions are even weirder than they probably were before social media. And like, there was enough challenging nutrition information throughout history. Can't even imagine how challenging it is now educating kids when it comes to social media.
yeah,
Cause I see what adults ask questions about, and I'm like, where did you hear that? And I'm like, never mind,
yeah.
but I think it's super cool. And I think it's valuable, and I think it's necessary. And I hope that those kinds of programs become the norm. And that's why, again, connecting with what we talked about these last couple of weeks with some of these states doing this intentionally, trying to get physical education and nutrition really on a deeper level for kids. I think it's the only way to save society from itself,
Hmm.
you know?
Hmm.
So I'm really happy about that. I was really happy to hear about that. And, I don't know if anybody wants Daryl to come give a presentation at their school, just let us know. But I think,
Lord.
I don't think I want to get into anything else. I have so much stuff, Daryl, but this is great because we
I
can just have
know. Yeah.
so much ammo for the next couple of weeks, and it's getting late and it's past Daryl's bedtime. So we're gonna
Almost
shuffle
8
off.
o'clock.
I know I have kept you up way too late, but that's okay. You guys are worth it. So thanks for hanging out. And next week I'm gonna save this page, and we're just gonna plow through the rest of this stuff because there's just a lot of stuff to talk about. And by that point, I think there's gonna be even more happening.
There always is more. There's always more. Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks for being along for the ride, everybody, and we'll see you next
Ciao for
time.
now.